Uh, my name is Omo Nyame for all those that wanna know. Got a YouTube stepping Insta that I named the Omo Show, where I clearly spit the flow, show you around the life I chose. So add me if you wanna see how far the story goes. Peace, family. Welcome to the Omo Show. I'm Omo, the Afrocentric creatress, here to raise the vibrations of the entire Black nation. And today's Melanin Monday, so I wanted to do a video specifically for my people. I wanted to talk about why I personally don't consider myself to be an African American. It kind of makes me cringe every time I hear African American, to be honest. But anyway, let's just get into it. Disclaimer. Again, this is my whole personal feelings towards it. This is just a way for us to build and enlighten each other with the knowledge and ideas that it is that we've gained over our own life experiences, and that's all I'm trying to do here. So the reason that I don't consider myself an African American, let's start off with the number one point. American is not a ethnicity, it's a nationality. Let's think about the beginning of America's history. Black people were never considered to be a person, nor are they today within this American society. That's number one. So why, if the title was not granted to me, if when the Europeans got their American freedom from the British, because that's where the term America comes from, is when the British and Europe's people was like, we don't want to pay your taxes anymore. We don't want to do that. We want our liberation, right? So then they had an American Revolution. I and my people, we were still enslaved at the time. I'm just saying. And then once they won the American Revolution, though Crispus Attucks was the first person to die and he was a black man for this country, were we free? No, we were not. So are we free today? Though we fought in every single war that America has had since it's been America? No, we not free today. So why would we consider ourselves to be something when the people who made the term, first off, they got the land by unrighteousness. They took it from other people. America became America through the slavery and backs of us, and also the stolen land of the natives of this land. With that being said, why would you want to be an American? That's number one. And two, they don't want you to be an American. So why are you trying to be an American? Why are we literally out here like, I'm not African, I'm African American? That is some brainwashed things. To want to be what your oppressor is, to want to identify with your oppressor, which is America. Something is wrong with us. So that's pretty much my point about that. I don't really have any reason to want to be American. I don't even call the natives of this land Native American. I call them natives because first off, before the Europeans got here, this land was not called America. So it's like, why are we really acknowledging the colonialism that has taken place on this land? If you want to say that as an African, because that's what I consider myself to be. And the reason that I consider myself to be an African versus an African American is number one, because there is not American blood running through my veins. There is mainly African blood running through my veins, with that bit of European blood that happened from colonialism, which was a global thing, not something that just happened in the States. So many of us Africans today are hybrid Africans versus being in our purest state that we were in before colonialism ever happened. So with that being said, I consider myself to be African. I am an African living in America. I am an African by way of America. I am an African born in America. You know, those kind of terms is what I would classify myself as, because that is more exact of my experience. I am an African. The blood running through my veins is African. My ethnicity is African. Do you understand? If you did a DNA test of an African living in Africa and mine, though they won't be exactly the same, because history has changed and molded Africans in different ways depending on the lands that they've traveled and gone. And because I have traveled here and had a different experience, no, our DNA would not look exactly the same, but it's gonna look way more similar to each other's than I would to a native of this land. Supposed to be natives. I ain't gonna say that. I'm gonna just say the Europeans, because the first natives of this land were black. So that's another point, black people. I know I'm getting like a whole bunch of information out here all at once, and it might seem real all over the place, but it's all has to do with the same point, which is why I don't consider myself to be an African American. If you want to say that you're a native of this land, African, because yes, Africans, the land was a black land before Europeans ever got here. America was, most lands were. The Aboriginal people of that land are black people, quote unquote black. You know, with that being said, all life came from Africa. So whether I consider myself to be a native, an Aboriginal, or African, it's all the same thing to me. As long as it's those three terms, I'm not considering myself to be no African American. Because when you do that, you separate yourself from the rest of your people from around the world. Now, if only we all had this Pan-African mentality, realizing that we are all Africans living in different places, then our issues will become collective issues. Everything that we do will start to be more in the mind frame of us being a part of this collective African body that spans across the entire world, not just in Africa, if you understand what I'm saying. But when you say you're an African American, many times people want to claim that so bad because they don't want to see themselves as being an African. They feel like Africans are only people who are in Africa. But my whole thing is, and I've said this in a previous video where I talk about the Africans versus the African Americans, if a native African comes over to America and then they have kids, right? Their first generation of kids in America. Then their second generation of kids in America. Then they have third generation kids of America, right? At what point are they going to start considering themselves to be African American? I don't know too many Africans, native Africans who live in the States who would ever want to be considered African American. They love their African identity. The reason that they consider themselves to be African is because they know their roots. They know their history. They know exactly what country they come from. They know everything about the things that we don't really know about, being that our history has been lost. And many African, quote unquote, Americans, or people who consider themselves to be that, don't know anything past slavery, don't realize that they did have a history in Africa and that we are the same people. You know, the only difference is that we lost our history. We lost our want to know, given that we were always influenced by this European culture that we were shooting towards. So that's a lot of information, but to sum it all up, I don't want to be classified as an American, and given that I haven't done any of the treacheries that America has done to the people, especially the people of color of this land, of this entire land, this entire universe. That's number one. Number two, they don't want me to be a part of their fucking shit anyway. I don't want to be a part of their shit. They don't want me to be a part of their shit. So I'm not American, nor do I think, you know, they don't think I'm American, and I don't think I'm American. I think of Americans as being the Europeans who fought for their freedom and all of their offspring. That's what I think of an American to be. I don't think any people of color who come over here should want to go for the ideal of being Chinese American, Asian American, or whatever. Like, be you. You are an Asian living in America. We can travel and still keep our identities intact. We don't have to now reclaim another identity, you know, and say that that's ours, because now we putting that on ourselves as if that's a part of our history, and it's not, you know. If you see yourself as an African, black people, then you will start thinking in African ways. You will start having African ideals. You will at least start educating yourself on these things. Maybe you will get you an African name, as I did. Maybe you will want to raise your kids with an African name, as I did. Maybe you just want to reclaim your culture once you realize, yes, you are a part of this body that spans beyond Africa, that is literally in every single land that you can think of. There is not a land that blacks, that Africans have not touched. The word black is a whole nother conversation. I know some people don't even like that term, but I'm not gonna get into that in this video. It's already getting long enough. So As I said, those are the two reasons for the main part. And then on top of that, the blood running through my veins is African blood. And that's just the bottom line. I am an African. No such thing as an African American. That's some hyphenated bullshit that keeps us away from our people. Hope you learned something today. Or if I'm not teaching you something that you ain't already know, I'm happy that we on the same page. Let's keep spreading this awareness, this knowledge. Y'all, I'm sorry, I got pregnancy brain. That's why I keep like pausing and shit like that, because I'm like, where the fuck are my thoughts? But anyways, that's it. That's all I gotta say. If y'all got any questions, any ideas, anything, please leave a comment below. Like the video if you like it. Subscribe if you feel like this might be a channel for you. Other than that, I want to make sure that y'all have a blessed day, a blessed week. Do what you got to do for yourself, for your family, for everything around you so that it can be great. Love you, family. Peace, love, black power all day, every day. Ain't no other way. Africans, you are African. You are not an African American. You are African. Okay? Peace.